How concerned should the Democrats be about Trump's latest victories in the primaries? Put aside the legal issues that we've just been talking about, does this send a warning to them that Donald Trump is in form and could come back?
Sure. I think they'd much rather run against Donald Trump, however, than Nikki Haley or Ron DeSantis or anybody else for that matter. You're in an unusual situation, Danica, where the only Democrat that can really lose to Donald Trump is Joe Biden. And the only Republican that could lose to Joe Biden is Donald Trump. So are the Democrats excited to see Donald Trump on the other side of the ticket? Yes, they are. Again, I don't think they can beat Nikki Haley, but they also have to deal with the fact that they've getting ready to nominate Joe Biden. He is a very, very weakened candidate. But more than likely, it's going to be Donald Trump versus Joe Biden, which is the two candidates that both parties sort of fear could lose to the other side.
Yeah, this is the interesting decision now for voters if it does end up being Joe Biden and Donald Trump. Annalise, are you holding firm for Joe Biden now to go all the way to November? Or what are the chances of a successor possibly coming up now?
There is speculation that that will happen, and one of the interesting things is that we do have a block of time in between the Republican convention and the Democrat convention this year, so there is potential for some movement, but it would be highly extraordinary. At the same time, I think the Democrats would be looking at their options if it doesn't end up being Donald Trump to have that kind of maneuvering, but you have to remember the other option really is Kamala Harris. She should be the heir presumptive, but for the fact she polls terribly personally, and she isn't seen as being a strong person to kind of pick up that mantle if Joe Biden were to step aside. And so this is the difficulty for the Democrats, is if it's not Joe Biden, then who could it be, especially at this point? You've seen Gavin Newsom kind of stick his neck out a little bit, but it still would have to be something really out of the ordinary to pull a manoeuvre like that this late in the game.
Look, we've been spending a lot of time speaking to voters actually here in Australia about what they might think about Donald Trump versus Joe Biden and what that would mean to Australia. This is what they said. Who's better for Australia, Donald Trump or Joe Biden? Neither. Do you think that Donald Trump should be allowed to run for US president again?
No, I don't. I'm just a bit afraid of him. He's just a bit of a madman.
It would seem to me that if you're up on 91 charges, that should exclude you from the right to stand for office of such an important place. But it beggars belief. It's like a novel. It's like a terrible fiction that we're all suddenly confronted with that might come real at some stage.
He's good for the world. I think he's best for world peace because he can stare down the mad leaders of the world.
Do you like Joe Biden? Do you think he's a better alternative?
I don't think he's any good either.
Well, even Australians don't like either. There was a bit of nervous laughter from all those people that I spoke to this week. I want to just ask you all three for your predictions. Annalise, starting with you, where do you see this heading between now and November? Will it be Trump v Biden?
Look, I don't know. I wish I could say more definitively, but I think there is still a lot of race to run. Nikki's still got some gas in the tank. You never know how this stuff's going to shake out. And if anything, we've been told the last few years, everything has been so unprecedented. Why not this year? Why couldn't this year be unprecedented as well?
Yeah, no doubt it's going to be unprecedented. Keith, your prediction?
Probably a Biden victory, but you've got to bear in mind that the American elections are not settled by all the 330 million people there, but in certain key states. And in those key swing states like Pennsylvania, Trump is certainly polling well. So he may be able to pull off a second victory.
All right, Mick, final word from you.
Trump is way ahead in some of the swing states that often determine the outcome of our elections. I think if you had to guess tonight, you'd say that Trump would be the next president of the United States.
What a fascinating year ahead we have got with this election. God, US politics is always very fascinating, isn't it? Mick Mulvaney, Keith Suter and Annalise Nielsen, thank you so much, the three of you, for joining us tonight.